Jesus was the Israelite that we were all to be. The Exodus Israelite. The Exodus went through the went through the water of the Red Sea. Jesus went through the water of baptism through the Jordan River. The Israelites in Exodus spent 40 years in the wilderness. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness. Jesus surrendered to the Father for hunger. The Israelites had to surrender. Jesus surrendered, took no interest in the government, didn't give them any credibility whatsoever, not an ounce. Said, you only have power that my Father gives you. That wasn't saying much, by the way. That was my Father may institute you. My Father may tolerate you. But he will use me, Jesus, as the example of what the people that you disregard are to do. See, God kept the Israelites in the desert for 40 years because he had to break them from their Egyptian mindset. Even though they were in slavery, you would think, oh, we're free. No. Because their freedom, they had to come in, they had to put complete dependence on God for everything. God had them do nothing except for 40 years, I want you dependent on me. What does America and every country in the West teach their people? Well, we built our country all about you being independent and achieving your dreams. And it all sounds good. And it sounds like it's what God would want, but God didn't. No, all you governments, all you nobles, you helped lead people away from God. While you want to say that, no, I'm the president that's responsible for the most Bible sales and people returning to church. Yeah, returning to church, which is the surface Christianity. You remove Paul from the New Testament, you don't have the same religion. And yet, only Paul, throughout the whole Bible, can you justify a divided loyalty. But I still say God used Paul. He wanted Paul to put that in because God will use it as a measuring stick. Just like he used against the Pharisees. That, nope, you only know doctrine. You never sought my Father. You only went by text. If you sought my Father, you'd understand that because Jesus never showed a divided loyalty, because Jesus showed total surrender. I don't want people independent. They need to start by being utterly dependent on me. That was the true beginning of freedom. But that seems to have been lost. Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody just thought, well, we moved on from Exodus and there was King David and God used all that because God saw, look at what the people, because he says in Deuteronomy, God says, once your bellies are full and you're satisfied, you have no need for me. Yet our country says, my independence did it. God's not impressed. He's not. The human wisdom can't understand that, but that's why God saw the human wisdom as folly. Yeah, you got the most people back to church. Way to go. Yeah, so did Charlie Kirk, and look at how well, look at where he was leading people to a bunch of nonsense. But then it makes sense to me sometimes, like why the Trumps supported that. It's like you didn't want to support the real people, you still want to silence them or shadow ban them to this day on all platforms. The people that are like me that are saying, no, God wanted you to surrender to him. But it just blows my mind. Do you think that God doesn't see that? You just all think, no, God never intervenes. Got it. I mean, the governments and all of the religion, all the denominations, they've always served each other to keep the people compliant. But even God didn't want you to go to war against the government. But there was a reason in the Bible it says, be still and know that I am God. That didn't mean in a meditative state. It meant surrender and stop. All of it. Stop creating. Stop being independent. Stop depending on yourself and the government and kings and queens and noble Stop, because all of them do the same thing. Again, I mean, God, all God ever needed to see was looking for the noble people or the country that was going to have the leadership, that was going to truly have enough faith that they stopped exercising their free will to fix all of it, but instead surrendered to God, not to the innovation, and focus on the needy. Why? Because that's what God did. That's what Jesus did. None of you, that's how simple it was. It's so mind-blowing when I really sit back and think about it, that no president, no king in his, none of them ever did it. They could say, oh no, we helped the poor here with it. No, but you all got it wrong. You all got it wrong. You all ultimately placed, because of your lack of faith, you all ultimately placed more belief in your innovation, in your creating, than you did in God. And then every country, every government, every church has taught the same damn thing. It's about, your independence, your freedom. What freedom do you have? What freedom even do you people in the government have? Oh, you have the power that God allows you to have. That doesn't mean that he's impressed. He just allows you to have it. But the people pick it. Because, that's what happened to the Israelites, is they wanted a king. It all went downhill from there, showing God was not happy about that. And yet every country, including America, has done the same damn thing. All the nobles that think that they're so appointed and they're blessed and there's some special lineage, and it's like, if you're from a special lineage, then there should be, you should be able to have enough faith in God that you do not need to put your innovation ahead of human beings. If you're special lineage, then you should be able to have so much faith in God that you're not worried about China getting ahead in any AI. You're not worried about any of that, because you have so much belief in God that he will protect this country, that you don't need to discard the people for innovation. But oh no, we can't have that kind of faith. So are there any really noble families? No. Do they say King David was from a noble family? Sure. What was God really teaching? That everybody will do the same thing. Everybody will think the noble family knows best, that there's anointed people. No, if there's any anointed people, they certainly would never be given a voice. They wouldn't. They would never be able to get especially into any leadership position. They wouldn't even be able to get into a big leadership position in the church, not one where the world hears them, because the world doesn't want the people to hear them. Because what they would be saying, the truly anointed would be saying, turn back and surrender to God. He's not impressed with your independence. He's not impressed with your freedom. He wants you to have freedom in his kingdom. He doesn't want you creating your nonsense and your innovation in the fallen world and then leading all of the people to depend on themselves, because when they depend on themselves, they no longer look to God for their dependence. So what noble family in history, any of you, have done it God's way? No, none. Showing that there really was never a noble lineage, except amongst themselves, except amongst what the people wanted to believe. Because every single one of the kingdoms always shoved God to the side and stopped depending on him because of the noble families in government.